So a very good morning to all of you. A warm welcome to the second day of our FDP. So we are grateful to have our second session, starting with Professor Dr. S. Kanmani Subbu from IIT Palakkad. And we'll be after this, we'll be having a hands-on lab session also. So I request the participants to install that softwares in your laptops so that you can go with the experts who will be taking the sessions. Okay, over to Pradeep.
Good morning to one and all. Before we move to the first session of day 2, let us welcome Dr. Kanmani Subbu, S. Kanmani Subbu, as the resource person for this virtual FDP for the day 2. I would like to consider this as my privilege to introduce Dr. Professor S. Kanmani Subbu before you. Dr. S. Kanmani Subbu is working as assistant professor in the discipline of mechanical engineering, IIT Palakkad. After completing his doctorate from IIT Kanpur, he worked as assistant professor in NIT Warangal for about 4.5 years. His area of expertise includes micro manufacturing, laser surface processing, composite fabrication, and machining, along with additive manufacturing. He has published more than 80 international journal publications and several international conferences too. He has executed a project from SERB, DST. He is the member of IEI, Laser Association, and ISME. He is the guest editor for a special issue of Journal of Micromanufacturing, Sage Publishers. So with this brief introduction, I would like to welcome Dr. S. Kanmani Subbu to this virtual online FDP. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Pradeep sir. Okay, thank you, sir. Fine. Yeah, good morning to all. Thanks for the organizers for giving such an opportunity. Yeah, so I would like to cover today like research opportunities in additive manufacturing. Maybe yesterday you had a session on various processes in additive manufacturing. Even today I will also go with that because while teaching discussing the basic things, then I can discuss more about how to take forward towards the research. Okay, then there's not only saying that what are the researches that are happening in and around the world. Apart from that, how to define the research by our own. Okay, so that is the ultimate aim of this presentation particularly. Okay, so these are the overall contents for my talk. Like just I'll introduce the manufacturing principle. In that particularly the AAM and then AAM with the other processes, like why is it so important, and then how to take research in that direction. So that also just I will discuss. Apart from that, there are few major applications related to this rapid tooling, design thinking point of view, all those things. And then finally, just I'll say about capabilities of 3D printing so that you can define some more research towards in that direction. So finally, the reference then. Yeah. So let's go on the basic thing. There are 3 basic manufacturing principles: the formative and subtractive. Then finally, it's additive. Okay, so if you consider like casting and then forming process comes under category of formative, and whereas the machining related comes under the subtractive. Additive, it's like we have to go for like layer by layer manufacturing thing. But why like this additive? If you see the overall basic principle, the 3 things are there long back, but you see that this additive manufacturing started to gain more importance maybe past 20 years. Before that, it is not so. Okay, so anybody can tell why is it so? And then one more request from my side. I would like to have this session with more interactive. Instead of I'm only presenting the thing, just I want to know how much you are understanding, and then because we are doing everything in a virtual mode, right? So it is very difficult for the presenter that whether are you able to travel with me while presenting it. So that's why. So now the basic question goes that this formative, subtractive, additive, there are 3 manufacturing principles are there, but additive started to gain by maybe past 20 years or 25 years, not more than that. So anybody can justify why is it so? But the statement itself very clear that additive manufacturing, it's not a new one. It is an existing technique already. Okay, but it started to gain more importance. Okay, anyone? Please unmute yourself and then maybe answer to my question so that.
Since the raw material is getting depleted, we have to use to a very minimum quantity only we should use in production. So this will give a better benefit for that.
Yeah, correct. Like one way, yeah, we can justify in that way. I'm not denying it because there's kind of one kind of need. Okay, it's arising day by day. It is that need importance is going more. I understand that, but I'm just asking in another aspect that the technique is already existing. Okay, fine. The need is okay, but then why it has started to getting more popular? This is because of one important thing. Okay, fine. I'll give a small hint to that. See, if you see the cell phone, okay, initially the cell phone meant for it's for a communication. But now the cell phone, it has a lot of functions. But the size of the cell phone is reduced and weight of the cell phone also reduced. Again, due to the technology development, correct? So the same way, even in additive manufacturing also, see this additive manufacturing basically how it works. Obviously, you know that basic things, okay? We need a 3D CAD model. So, okay, from that you have to convert to a like STL format. From that STL format, you have to like a print a product. So obviously the computer plays a major role along with this process. Whereas in other processes, either casting, forming, joining, or machining, you can do manually also. But additive manufacturing, obviously, you have to do in a systematic way, means you have to go with the computer. Okay, without that it is very difficult. You take any process, we are working with the computer because the computer only is controlling the process. So the development of computer also happened with past 20-25 years. Okay, so that is a major reason. Along with that, additive manufacturing also started to gain more important. Okay, so why I'm talking about that? That means in one kind of research, generally research what we are talking about related to the process. Before getting into the process, what I'd like to say, okay, how to do this additive manufacturing in an effective way with the help of the computer. So ultimately, as you know that we need a CAD model. Okay, if we want to develop a CAD model, okay, how to do that? Obviously, there are many ways. Okay, like if you know the dimension of the product, you can draw in CAD software, any one of the CAD software, and proceed further. But whereas you don't have any data, you have a product. Okay, you want to improve the product further, then you need a 3D scanning technology. Once you scan the thing, you have the data maybe in a cloud data kind of thing, point cloud data. How to get the 3D model from that? So that is research goes. Okay, so kind of what I'm trying to say, CAD related, computer related control, model related thing, that itself a great area to do a research. And one more thing here, I ultimately, see, if you go with a process wise, always it demands like equipment, characterization technique, all those things. When you go with some certain of research, for example, and just what I'm talking about, like kind of modeling related, you have a set of data, okay, then how to going to handle the data handling, especially for modeling, that needs only computer. So that can be like managed within your available facilities, with your laptop or institute facility or thing. So what I'm trying to say, you define that pre-processing, processing, post-processing. Now I'm talking about pre-processing. In additive manufacturing, pre-processing is generating the CAD data. So that itself, we can do a lot of research. Which format is best? Maybe you may, I will ask one question, like let's see. If I want to like fabricate a material or a product or a part, okay, on two different materials, is it possible by additive manufacturing? Ultimately, what I want to develop a part or fabricate a part, okay, the part has two different materials. Is it possible by additive manufacturing? Any process? Anybody? Do you have any clue? Say yes or no first. Just enough. Then I can. Is it possible to make a product by two different materials? That is my simplest question.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good. Very good. So can you give any one hint which process you may suggest for that? There are 7 processes generally we say as per the ASTM standard. Maybe yesterday you might have heard about that. So any one process can you just suggest for that? Okay. You might have heard about
First
that.
friction stir welding.
Sorry, sir. Hello, sir. Yeah, some answer I got it, please. Yeah, you can type your answer also, but I can't see because my screen is like shared, so it is very difficult to see the thing. But somebody, maybe one of the organizers can be help me to read that one. Okay, so you type your answer in the chat box. Okay, but friction stir welding, something somebody said. Okay, anyway, so that, yeah, friction stir welding can be like it's kind of extending the applications of the capabilities of the friction stir welding, that we can discuss if time permits. Okay, in general, out of 7 processes, we say like the fusion deposition modeling. Even if doing most of the processes, but there is a challenge. Okay, why I'm talking about right now here itself. The 2 different materials is okay, but how to inspect that one? How to bring that one in a CAD model? That is the challenge. That is a challenge. In a CAD model, when you go with the thing, so when you model, it's a 3D model, right? Okay, you may take from the surface model or wireframe model, something like that. Now you have a 3D model. In that, you have to have the data related to material also. That there huge amount of research is there. People are doing it. So for that, what you need, you just need a software, a laptop, and then if you have open, there are many, you don't need to worry about even software. There are many open form software that are there. From that, you can fetch the software, you can work, because all are coding, right? These all CAD-based things are code-based. Okay, if you understand the things, how can you bring the material things also into the software? So in pre-processing itself, you have a huge amount of research opportunities. Large amount of research opportunities. That is only just I want to insist over here. Okay. Then if you go further in this, as we discussing about formative, subtractive, and additive. Okay. Like this, all are like dependent on each other. It's not independent. Okay. You take any process. Finally, you have to go to subtractive process. That means you have to go for a machining. Anybody can tell why. You see that the diagram is very like clear and then self-explanatory, because you can see the arrows. Okay, like from additive manufacturing is going to the subtractive. That means after doing additive manufacturing, you have to be a subtractive. Okay, do formative. After doing formative also, you have to check that one. So like that, everything is connected over here. Can anybody can tell why is it connected? What could be the reason?
Requirement of post-processing.
Yeah, correct. What one or two requirements, please. Good, nice, very nice.
Maybe drilling,
one or two requirements.
maybe trimming the edges or providing some drill holes.
Okay, okay. You're going very particular, sir. Very good, very particular. But I can superficially say. See, what is the thing is, you take any process, you take a casting. It's not this research opportunity, not only additive manufacturing. Okay, it's for common. You take a casting, you take forming or joining. Okay, what happens at there is the ultimate thing is we need a product with a certain dimension. Okay, and then not only the dimension, if I say some particular form, the form is supposed to be maintained. Then if I say some surface, I need some for a particular application that needs a surface finish also. Okay, so the 3 major areas: dimension, okay, dimensional control. That means I need a particular dimension. Thing is surface requirement, surface profile requirement. Third is form. Form is, if you are making a cylinder, it's supposed to be in a cylindrical form. That is okay. You are making like your cube, it's supposed to be in a cubical form. So that's supposed to be ensured. Okay, for that you have to go for a subtractive process. Yeah, it's a post-processing process. It's a need. A trimming is all one kind in that. I'm just saying that is all very in-depth you are going, but I'm putting in an overall thing. So why I'm talking about this? That means there is a research area that You do additive manufacturing, any one of the process, whatever you learned, okay, 7 processes are there, you do any additive manufacturing processes. Is it like, are you able to get the exact dimension? Okay, we'll go a little more basics. We play and we are also learn each other. Okay, this because I also learning from the audience, like a participant. That is obvious. As a teacher, we know, correct? Most of the people are teachers. Okay, we know that while teaching, we have one mind and we are teaching to the students, but the students have a different mind, so they may like teach us indirectly by raising the question. So like the same way I'm doing right now. Okay, if I want to make a product, okay, say I want to make a product, say 100 mm length. I will take a cylindrical sample example. 100 mm length, say 50 mm diameter. Cylindrical, I want to make a cylindrical rod. Okay, that I want to make as a part. Okay, I'll do any process. Like I'll go for machining. I can do for a casting. Okay, or going for additive manufacturing. 3 processes I can consider. Okay. So now, before going into that, which process will give a better result, I'll go to the thing is, can we make exactly to 100 mm length and 50 mm diameter part by any process? Exactly. I want to make a product 100 mm length, 50 mm diameter cylindrical sample I want to make. That is my requirement. Is it possible to make by any of the processes exactly the exact size?
In the conventional process,
Yes, no?
you may require some tolerances also. But if you go for this additive manufacturing, the tolerance limit can be reduced. Still, the surface finish and other things requires further operations.
Super. So yeah, nicely like you put in words. Okay, the thing is, there is no way to make a product without any tolerance. This is a mandatory thing. Without tolerance, you can't make product. Okay, you make a product even to the size. There is no metrological instrument to measure the thing. We don't have any measurement instrument in that way, because that have uncertainty. The instrument has the uncertainty. Then in that case, so this is the kind of axioms we say. Okay, there is no machine in the world to make a product to the exact dimension. Then there is no metrology or measurement techniques to measure the thing to the exact measurement. So in that case, there is a tolerance. Then the tolerance is there. That's unavoidable. You understand. My basic question now, as I said, is it possible to make by, say, casting method? Is it possible to make by maybe forming method? Possible to make by additive manufacturing method? Now, can you tell me, because yesterday you attended, maybe you have basic knowledge related to additive manufacturing. Out of these 3 processes, how to choose a process? The 3 processes, again, one more thing. As a teacher, I used to always have a concern on, when you have options, okay, it's our job to teach which one is best. What is the selection criteria? This is a question I used to ask most of the places. Now also I just put the same question. Now, like see, in additive manufacturing also the research goes, you print a product by additive manufacturing. Then one of the characterization what you will do is tensile strength you will measure, and then you may measure the maybe shear strength of the thing, compressive strength. Okay, then you go for material very thing, hardness you will measure. For example, you want to measure a hardness. Okay, you have 4 options, correct? You have a Rockwell hardness tester, Brinell hardness tester, you have Vickers, Knoop. Can you just tell me which hardness tester you will use? Is there any selection criteria to do properly? Okay, this is a thing I have to use. So that the things comes. When you have options, obviously we have it. So, but in generally in our education, we are teaching what is that, but there is no criteria to do that. The same way here, okay? Very interesting thing is we have 3 processes. By 3 processes, you can make like a cylindrical sample. But how do you choose a process? Can you go for a casting? Can you go for a forming? Can you go for additive manufacturing? Anyone answer from your side? I like to hear.
Sir, production cost. That's one of the criteria.
Production.
Select.
The
cost
okay, of. Okay. Then you need a particular. Okay, I understand that since you need a particular thing, I may say that I'm not worrying about money spending. Okay, I'm least bothered. I need a exact dimension, as much near to the dimension. Now, can you suggest a process? I'll give a constraint to you. That objective function is, I need a product near to the required dimension, very near to the exact dimension. So which process I have to choose? I'm not worrying about money. I'm not worrying about time. So the problem comes there. Okay. So what is the thing I am trying to say here? As somebody raised criteria we should have. What is our requirement? Why I'm talking about that? See, additive manufacturing, it's like a fancy word for most of the people, right? Especially for researchers and then that BTech students, and they know additive manufacturing. How the robotics plays a role. Now the additive manufacturing is also equally plays a role. Okay. Now, I'll put a question in another way. When do you choose additive manufacturing? In what are the criteria you may keep to opt additive manufacturing is the best process for that particular requirement? Can you tell me? Anybody can just tell when do you choose additive manufacturing for making a product? These are the requirements, so maybe lead to use additive manufacturing. Anyone? Like kind of criteria?
So the shape of the work, or the
Shape
complexity
of
of
the
complexity
work.
of the work.
Very good. Yeah, complex shape.
Complexity.
One, yeah. Yeah, that means as compared to any process, additive manufacturing address high complexity. Correct. Because forming, casting and all, you have to make in that way. You can't get such a, again, you do forming and this thing, you have to come to for machining.
Sir,
Okay, you may say machining, again, you have a cutting tool, all those things.
But,
so now
but,
one criteria,
complex
very nice.
We can make
complex shape.
Complexity, we can manage with the CNC processes, is it not?
Not just like that. I will show some complex shapes in the upcoming slides later. Okay. Here, complexity, what we are thinking is not only with the shape complexity. That, for example, thin wall structures you want to make. The tool will not go to that structure level. Again, the CNC, like maybe CNC lathe is CNC based machines are control the process. Okay. You will get a very, very controllable manner the things. But not like, because again in machining, okay, since we are started with the machining, just I'll have one basic question related to that. Okay, again it's interaction. Okay, so that you have in machining itself conventional, non-conventional processes. Okay, when you talk about CNC machining, there we are I'm thinking that you are talking about conventional machining process, either turning, milling, and drilling kind of thing. So there you are using the CNC based thing. I understand, but what is the basic criteria for that process? The criteria for generally conventional machining is that the tool material harder than the workpiece material. Then only the machining will take place. In that case, okay, I want to make a complex shape on a very hard material, or otherwise very, very, very soft material. So conventional machining is not possible. That means CNC based also not possible. So there are many things that comes. Okay, even you take a normal material wherein you can work with like conventional, but there also I need a constraint that I need a very thin wall structures. That is also not. So in general, complex shape point of view, yeah, additive manufacturing gives more freedom. Again, everything is relative. Everything is relative. It's not 100% will address. No, everything is relative. Compared to the casting, compared to the machining, additive may address more. That's all. Okay, so complex shape is one kind. There is one more important thing is there. Anybody? One more important. Then in that case we have to choose additive manufacturing. Okay, I will give a hint. Okay, for example,
So the production volume.
Yeah. Production volume, yeah, actually production volume goes with, like mass production, batch production, job production. So additive manufacturing is now only moved from say job to batch, but still we have to reach the mass production. Okay, again that depends on the size of the components. That itself be interesting. That itself we can talk for half an hour. Okay, that I can address later if time permits, otherwise leave it. Now what I'm trying to say, additive manufacturing, it's not good famous for mass production. Okay, because it has its own constraints for that.
Sir, if
okay, I will ask. Please,
if I had to make a
please.
cooling system for a nozzle, that is embedded cooling system in a nozzle of a rocket system, there I can go for additive manufacturing easily, whereas conventional machining techniques will not work.
Okay, can you, this little more generic, can you bring it? Okay, I will put a word in that. Okay, the nozzle itself, different shapes of nozzles are there, for example. Okay, in what nozzles means, what you have, say, circular cross section. I'm saying that you have a like a hexagonal cross section, you have a pyramidal cross section, and kind of different cross section I want to bring. So another important thing is customization. Wherever you need a customized thing, that's why another great example for this customer to realize implant, bio implant, knee joints. The knee joint is a common, but knee joint person to person varies because of you're based on body structure things. So for kind of that, when you want to have a customized knee joint based on your requirement, additive manufacturing is the best process. So because additive manufacturing, you can make a single product comfortably. The same single product, if I want to do by casting, or otherwise by forming, or otherwise by CNC machining, what I have to do? Casting means you have to make a pattern, then you have to go for making a cavity, a big process. Again, forming, you have to have a die and punch. Whereas if you go for a machining, you have to write it such a big this thing. Again, you have to have a large amount of raw material. Otherwise, if you want to go for writing a code, that's all. But in additive manufacturing, it's not like that. Its customization can be done with the high accuracy. Okay, dimensional accuracy. Okay, so two things I'm just putting in your mind. Don't go for additive manufacturing just like that. There is a need. When the need comes, there are based on complexity of the shape. And second thing is this customization. The two things you keep in your mind. Okay, overall. Okay, that is the thing. But again, why I'm talking about subtractive here? The thing is here I'm combining one more thing, post-processing. Then I'll go for processing. Okay, first we discuss about pre-processing. Now I'm talking about post-processing. That means by additive manufacturing also you can't get an exact dimension. There is a problem. One is dimension. And there is one more great disadvantages there in additive manufacturing. Okay, anybody? It's a very, very quite common disadvantage. Anybody? Anything? Any disadvantages you are able to catch? That's a big problem with additive manufacturing compared to other processes. Or you produce a product by casting and forming. If I produce the same product additive manufacturing, there's a big problem with that.
So time required is greater.
Okay, I'm just asking in another aspect. Time required, yeah, I accept it. Required in the sense, again, if I compare to the casting, somewhat less only actually, because casting means you have to make a pattern and this thing and design the many things are there. Now, additive manufacturing directly, you scan it, get a CAD model, go to printing. It may be costly affair, but it is okay.
Sir, limited type of raw materials. Raw materials. I think only some powders or maybe used for the additive manufacturing. That means the limited type of raw material can be used.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Again, please remember, I related to the raw material, I will address at the last because there is one slide I kept it for that. Okay. Okay. Now I'll just tell you. Ultimately, what is a big problem in additive manufacturing? You can't get a 100% dense product. I hope you can understand density. If I need a product, but I need a full 100% density. Okay, we can't get it over here. But you can make it by doing a secondary processes. Again, that is a post-processing it will go. Okay, how to improve the density of the given product. Okay, so that will. So what I'm trying to put in your mind, pre-processing, post-processing has a lot of opportunities to your research. Okay, apart from processing, that is only I'm putting in your mind. Okay, you can do by additive, like what post-processing, few more examples I'll give before going further into the processing side. In post-processing, I said three things you please remember. One is dimensional accuracy. Second is surface roughness related. Another thing is, third thing is related to the form error. Okay, so dimensional accuracy, I supposed to get 100 mm means 100 mm, but I may not get. So if I want to do, I have to go for subtractive. Machining only can achieve that in general. Okay, it's not only reducing and then machining, correcting the dimension, okay, and then it is giving you a good surface finish as compared to the additive manufacturing. And third thing is, since we are able to correct the dimension, we are able to maintain the form accuracy also. Please, in general, when we do a research, we are limiting our side. We are not going beyond certain things. Okay, for example, if somebody is getting an opportunity to work on a lathe machine tool, what they will do, or any machining process, they will work on material removal rate. Okay, they will try to optimize a parameter for material removal rate. They will try to optimize a parameter for surface roughness. Then they are trying to optimize a parameter for tool wear. This is a general thing they do. But what I'm saying, please go beyond that. Okay, this is my observation. I'm just giving a thing. Maybe I'm wrong also, but we are more restricting towards that only. But for example, in a surface roughness, okay, I'll link with additive manufacturing. Additive manufacturing, I said that you will not get a better surface finish. Okay, in general, you also know. So for that, you are going for a manual. This thing, one kind is because this machining is 3-in-1. I can get the proper dimension. I can try to get the good form accuracy. I try to get a good surface finish. But still, can you tell me? I want to get a better surface finish, mirror-like finish. Do you know any surface finishing processes? Okay, in general, can you tell me what are the surface finishing process we know? We just discuss that one. Let's start from the conventional grinding. Grinding comes under porta category, correct? We can do for machining. You can consider for surface finish. Around 2 micrometer range of surface roughness you can achieve in that. Okay, can you go further? I want to reduce the surface roughness further, less than 2 micrometer. Can you just suggest the process? Any one process?
Abrasive polishing.
Just for finish. Yeah, I'll come to that one. Yeah, very good, sir. Thank you. But generally, what happens? First grinding. After that, it will go for a polishing thing. What are the polishing process? You know, lapping and honing. Lapping for a flat type structures, whereas the honing for a cylindrical type. Then go further, super finishing. Again, further. That means further in the sense you reduce the surface roughness further, like you can reduce the dimension of that range of the surface roughness. So as like abrasive flow finishing, correct? That is a one process. In grinding, you are using abrasives only, but all are bonded. Whereas in the abrasive flow finishing, you use the loose abrasives. I have even one slide for that. No, I think I did not keep. That is post processing. Okay. So what I'm trying to say now, in additive manufacturing, okay, I'll put these 3 things. Let's see: customization, complexity. I need a good surface finish. There is one application demands these 3. Can you tell me what is the application? One application, okay, you have to find it. There is an application, okay, wherein we need 3 things. There you have to address a complex shape. One, there I need a good dimensional accuracy. The third thing is I need a good surface finish. There is one application needs that one, or one product needs that one. Which one it is? Anyone? Okay, it's like as I said, implant, knee joint. One example, knee joint. There are many. I'm talking about knee joint. Knee joint, what? Complex shape, first of all. It is very difficult to produce by machining means it takes long time. Okay, complexity. There I need a dimensional accuracy because I'm going to put in a body. So then that the dimensional accuracy I need more. And third thing is it should be very good surface finish. Very good surface. What happened? Corrosion will start because all our body, like correct, it's a fluid is that the fluid become and stress concentrations are more in that area that prone to like corrosion. So now I'm just linking. In that case, the surface finish also plays a major role for an additively manufactured component. So now if I want to get a good additive, so there is another big area. Okay, you make a product by additive manufacturing, by any process. Now you have a final product in your hand. You see, For example, you take any one process, you play with the process parameters, you get a set of samples in your hand. You check for this particular process parameter how much dimensional accuracy, how much surface finish you are achieving. Okay, now that gives an idea. Okay, you can do your own optimization, but further you want to reduce. Obviously, you have to go for another process, secondary process. There you do a research. Secondary process give a lot of weight to that. You do any machining. Non-conventional machining, you do polishing, that is a very big research area. Okay, pre-processing and post-processing. Okay, superficially, I did not go in depth about that. Just I gave a hint. So since you are in, I hope most of people are like faculty members or maybe some research scholars also. What you can do is, you may not have the machines in your institute. You do one thing, like you maybe, as I said, first post-processing, pre-processing. Sorry, what you're supposed to do, you can have a computer and you can work it out. One is simple example what I gave, multi-material fabrication. If you want to do, how to incorporate material property to the CAD, how to give information about the material in the CAD file. That itself one area to work. Then there are many errors are happening in the CAD file. That errors are, you have to identify how to reduce. That is again a research area. So that is post like pre-processing. I'm giving one or two. Post-processing side, there are many. Dimensional accuracy you want to achieve. You want to achieve the form error, form accuracy. Then you want to achieve a good surface finish. All three different things you can do different research. You like maybe through collaboration or through thing, you get a product and take the product, okay, and then you do this kind of, maybe in your institute you have some basic machines. You may have a EDM, maybe you have a laser, or you may have a conventional or CNC based machines. With the help of that, you can do a research. Okay, so that is the way to go. Okay, instead of, I understand like everywhere there is a problem with equipment because all are costly. Okay, we can't have. So we can find out the sources and then collaborate with them and then do this kind of thing. So this is about pre-processing side and post-processing side. Now I'll move on to the processing side. Okay, so that one more thing is interesting. Subtractive additive is okay, formative also okay, but there is a thing called combined process. That means they combine the additive and machining together, subtractive and additive together. That means what happens that instead of after making the additive manufacturing thing, they will do like when you are preparing the product, when you are fabricating, okay, layer by layer, 10 under layers you want to deposit or you want to print. So what they will do, they will make first 4 layers, they do machining. Again, they will make another 4 layer, do machining. So like that, they combine the process so that they get more advantage. Hybrid generally what? Combine 2 processes, okay, together and then get advantage of both processes. So here the hybrid also. This again a big research area. That means you have to develop a machine or you have to buy a machine in that way that which has a hybrid of additive as well as subtractive. So here the subtractive generally they're using milling process. Okay, they'll do the under layers, as I said, if you want to make 4 layers, they'll first deposit, then they'll do machining. Then again 4 layers, 4 more layers. And so this hybrid. Okay, this is another area of research. Overall advantage of 3D printing, okay, the process is speed. The speed in the sense it's not overall speed, the speed related to prototyping making. That I will address maybe in the 1 or 2 slides later. It's a single step manufacturing process, you know very well, right? It's like not like you know to do assemble. You know, if you have a CAD model, printing, that's all, direct printing. Okay, there is no, you make a parts here and there and then assemble. No, you can assemble, you can print in assembled condition itself. Again, it's a complexity. You can address the complex shapes. Okay, that the same. So see, somebody as correct. So you like somebody by CNC machining can be done, but how can I make such a structure by CNC machining? It's very difficult. Okay, because you see that intricate, like you have a lot of like material is removed. Okay, so if you want to do, how can then cutting tool go and remove the material? It's very difficult. How can I hold it for that also? As I said, customization, that is important. Okay, it's kind of knee joint example only. And then sustainability, that's also important. Yeah, somebody said that that shortage of raw material, right? That is one thing. When you do the process also, you are using the raw material effectively one way. And another thing, as compared to other process, that wastage is less. And then that whatever byproducts are coming, that also it is very less in this. Now I'll go to the thing. So where this additive manufacturing started? The additive manufacturing, if you see, I hope most of them understand. Actually, now additive manufacturing is one of the subjects in most of the curriculums, okay? Because the technology is matured to certain level. Generally, what happens when the technology is matured to a certain level, it comes to the curriculum. Come to the curriculum side. So student, like for teaching point of view. So once it's matured to certain level, then they're taking to teaching. So like that, the additive manufacturing also now people like started to teach in BTech or even not schooling to the effectively, but schooling practically they're teaching. Okay, but we said additive manufacturing is very new. As I said, no. Even in curriculum point of view also, before additive manufacturing, they named the same subject called rapid prototyping. So that means, first of all, this process introduced for making a prototype. Okay, fine, good. So here you made okay. Can you just tell me that when I talk about prototype, there is one more word also like comes to the mind, model. Okay, what is the basic difference between model and prototype? Anyone, please?
Prototype is the prototype is the first of the product, whereas model is it can be scaled down, it can be different material, like that.
Yeah, correct. Very nice, thank you. So model is it can be the different size and it can be different material. It don't need to be functional. Where prototype should be same material, same size, it should be functional. Okay, so those things should be realized fast. Why prototype model should be realized very fast? Why not do it slowly? Why should be realized fast?
The product is to be brought to the market.
Yeah, exactly, sir. Thank you. So you made my job easy. Actually, thanks for that. Correct, because competition is heavy. Okay, so the model should be realized and prototype should be realized very fast. If any problem, then again you have to iterate. In a product development cycle, this plays a major role. Okay, then why you need this process? Why additive manufacturing? Why not by casting? Is it not possible to make a prototype or model by casting? Possible. Try to understand it's possible, but you have to make a pattern, then you have to go for cavity, making the foundry thing also takes a long time. Whereas here, no need. You have a CAD data, you print. So that is a way. So that happens there. Okay. And this is overall, you know that what other things are involved in the 3D printing thing. Okay, as I said, the model preparation. Okay, again, that we discussed a lot. Okay, in model preparation, how to prepare a model. Before that, if you want to do, there is a product. Okay, for example, we have a mobile phone. This is already existing. Okay, you want to do a improvement. What do you do? First of all, okay, in mobile phone also, I'm working on only casing. I don't worry about inside now. The casing I want to do. So casing is also there already. Okay, what I want to make an improvement in the casing of the mobile. What I have to do, first of all, I have to get if I want to print this, I want to get want to do a research on that or do something. First of all, I need to know that what is the requirement I need. Okay, in that what I need, for example, the casing is supposed to be in handy. It's supposed to be hold by hand comfortably, number one. Number two, if I hold by hand, it should not slip. Okay, grip is necessary. So these are the two requirements. Like there are many requirements, I'm just considering two requirements. If I have that requirement, I want to check immediately. That can be done. So for that, if I want to, whatever casing is there, what I'm trying to say in a model itself, how to get the model. Okay, I have a product already. So the 3D scannings are again a big research area. After getting that 3D scan data, maybe in a point cloud, how to convert a better model. As I said initially, in the model, I want to have a material properties also, how to bring. After doing that, you get a model. From model to STL data, if you want to convert, do a triangulation also. How to, there are many problems are there. Because when you do a triangulation, it may leave some place. We don't know where it is leaving, some discontinuity happens, how to identify the discontinuity. So there is a very interesting thing in that data preparation itself is a bigger task to understand. Okay, so this 3D modeling data preparation covers that. That manufacturing part, yeah, we have to discuss, and then post process already we discuss. Post process we discussed only few things. One is what we have to get a good dimensional thing, and then form accuracy, and then surface finish. Another things, This is only I raised the question in between. One is, there is a big problem with additive manufacturing. You can't get a 100% dense product. That we understand, correct? There is one more interesting thing in additive manufacturing thing. How about the properties? One property will take tensile strength of the additively manufactured component. If I compare the tensile strength of additively manufactured component with the casting, how is it which is has a more tensile strength, additively manufactured or a cast product? Which one and why? I hope you understand my question. The question is, I'll produce a product, okay, by additive manufacturing as well as by casting. Okay, if I compare the tensile strength, which product has more tensile strength and why? The cast or additively manufactured thing, which one has the more mechanical properties in general? Okay, cast has a more strength as compared to the additively manufactured. Okay, and then one more thing. I hope you know about the isotropic and anisotropic. Okay, in casting, whatever property you're getting, all are an isotropic nature. That means the property is same in all direction. Whereas in additive manufacturing, it's not so. Okay. Why means in additive manufacturing, I'll give a hint. Please, you have to travel with me. Okay. So an additive manufacturing, it's a layer by layer process, you know. For example, you take, I want to make a cylindrical sample. Simple. Okay, we'll take a simple thing. 10 layers I'm considering to make a sample. Okay, in 10 layers, you have a 10-layer sample. In each layer, okay, we know how to go, that I'll come. In 10 layers, how many interfaces are there?
9.
So that means layer 1, sorry, yes sir, 9, thank you. 10 layers, 9 interfaces. Now we'll go with each layer has different properties, number one, and each interface has a different properties. Okay, because interface has a different physics, because the grain growth across the layers, it's totally different. Okay, that gives a lots of interesting outputs actually. How to control? Now, if you design the additive manufacturing in such a way that we know rapid cooling is taking place in the process, that is true. But if I control the rapid cooling, see, not only in additive, if you control any process to the level that you dictate the process to which way that grain has to grow, or grain has to refine, then that's all. You have a control on everything. So that is the interesting thing here over here. If I want to make a 10 layers of a product, 10 layers, 9 interfaces, each layer, okay, considering first layer. If you want to make a layer, are we making the layer in a single go? You take any additive manufacturing. Are you making the layer in a single go? Single go in the sense, just a fraction of second you are making, or you are doing in another way. That means the energy you are not giving for a layer. The layer itself, again, some divisions are coming. First full product I divided into 10 layers. I'm talking about now one layer. Are you making one layer at a time? In a single go, are you making a layer? No, not at all. That means what is happening? Again, in a layer, you are dividing into tracks. Another question, are you making a track at a time? No. You're starting with a point. Am I right? I'll give a justification for coming thing. Can you just tell me, are you able to understand what I'm trying to say? The 10 layers, now I divide into a single layer. 10, yeah, thank you.
It's
10
very
layers,
interesting
9 interfaces. Correct. The things are starting with a point. Now the point physics is different, because when I starting with one point is okay. When you move on to the next point, the first point is now getting some energy from the second point. Third point, when I'm going to the third point of my energy supply, it is affecting my second point and first point. I go for a track end, first, second, third, like that I'm going. Okay, the track consists of say 10 or 11 points. All 11 points. When I'm working on 11th point, all 10 points getting some energy. Okay, this is for only one layer, one track I'm talking. When I one layer, same layer, second track, I'm taking S direction, S pattern I'm putting, because I have to complete a layer, correct? So when I move a thing, okay, what happens that the second track also influencing the or affecting the first track in a different way. So my first deposited whatever happens or first made a feature on that, again subjected to my energy. It is energy is reacting or interacting with that. That gives another physics to me. If I control that one, because of that only I'm getting a different properties on a same layer. A single layer itself you have different properties. 10 layer 9 interfaces obviously have a different properties. How to control? Then your tensile properties of particular AM product, it's completely directional based. In X direction you have something, Y direction you have something, Z direction you have something. It's not going to be same. So now you understand to that level and start to play with the energy, then you are the boss, no one else. So it's a kind of great research. You may think no need of any equipment and secondary. You have a simulation. I hope in most of the institutes you have a modeling software as well as analysis software. You work. Okay, maybe I may say that you work with like a thermo people. If you are a manufacturing people, I'm a manufacturing engineering guy. I'm working with heat transfer persons. I'm working with the CFD people. Okay, they are experts. We also know, but we know only basic. They know that very in depth. So that because what any process, sound process you take, most of the things are related to heat transfer only. The heat transfer, if I control, then I can dictate the property whatever I want. So that is an interesting thing to know. Okay, so here I'll link both together right now. So the properties are different, okay? Layer by layer properties are different, then whole product properties are different. I want to now at least kind of bring the uniformity in the property. What I have to do? The problem is additively manufactured product has a different properties in layer by layer along across the layers of the product. I want to do something, okay? So you are allowed to do some other treatment on that, okay? So that you can bring the uniform properties. Okay, the solution should be a heat treatment. So heat treatment may reduce the that difference in the properties, not completely. It will not eliminate, reduce. Okay, so heat treatment again another research area. You see, obviously you have a furnace in your institute because in a metallurgy lab or something you have to do, or some institutes have research opportunities. Okay, so that case you print the product by any outside and bring the product, do a heat treatment study. Heat treatment, there are many types of heat treatment: annealing, normalizing, this thing, cyaniding, carbonizing, nitriding, okay, plasma nitriding. There are many things. You explore that one. Again, why you are exploring also you should know. Please don't do. Sorry, I should not make a generalized comment like that. But it's I felt in few places. People are doing a research like, they will do some machining, okay? They'll do all characterization. They'll do XRD, they'll do SEM, they'll do TIM, they'll do hardness tester, they'll know that, but they don't know why they are doing it. Because they say, that facilities are there in my place, I'm doing it. No. First of all, understand why you want to do. Is it necessary? Then you do. Because you should know, we should know as a researcher why we are doing it. We should not do just like that. Okay, so don't do randomly for anything. You should put a question why you have to do. Okay, so whatever I gave ideas for post-processing and pre-processing, while processing itself, we have a problem that we will go further. Again, before going further, another interesting area to be explored there is this part orientation. For example, you see this one. Are you able to see my mouse that arrowhead? Mouse cursor, like, are you able to see that?
Yes, yes.
On this screen. Thank you, sir. So if you see that this is a STL file of one product, okay? So this you have to make. When you make this thing, if you see the product clearly, the center part is okay, but the side is something like a kind of slope is that. So this kind of slope you can't make, because why you can't make? There is no base. If I deposit some material over here, automatically come down, correct? So for that, to avoid that, they have to create a support. Support should be generated. So that only you can make such a product. After that, the support should be removed. Support is unwanted. Okay, not desirable for as a final product. But support, why I'm doing, I want to make such a structure, okay, which is not directly printed. Otherwise, it will come down to the base material or base of the thing. So to avoid that, what I have to do, I have to have a support material. But the support material you have to. So for example, there is a final. Okay, the support material, that this thing extra material should be removed. Then you have to take it for measuring the dimensions. So support generation itself, another interesting area. How to generate a minimal support so that the support can be removed at the later stage comfortably. Okay. So now the support itself, different kinds of supports are there. Very, very interesting thing. Again, for that you need a basic only a software, then you can explore a lot. Okay. There are some open source softwares are there. Please check one. Check one. You may get an idea. Okay, now I'm going to the processes. So already yesterday, maybe expert might have covered. In additive manufacturing, it's a liquid-based, solid-based, powder-based. We are dividing the processes. Okay. Anyway, I'll just like to go inside about that. But before going further in that, as I said, there are 7 processes in the additive manufacturing as per the ASTM standard. But one more process called hybrid processes. But here, if you see this slide particularly, for example, VAT polymerization is one of the processes. In that, there are different names are there. That's why I kept this slide. So each process have different names. The 3D printing, additive manufacturing itself, different names, correct? Okay, but each process they have different names. But altogether, we have say all are comes under additive manufacturing only. Okay, you should now have basic knowledge related to that. That's why I just kept the slide. Okay, there are 8 processes. One process as per the ASTM standard, the 8th process is hybrid. Okay. I'm just skipping this slide also. Now I'll go to the process one by one. So there we address more about what is the process about. So I'm in 13th slide. I'm going now to the processes one by one. First I'll start with the word polymerization. So I'll give a few minutes break. So anybody would like to ask questions, please. I'm happy to answer. Because we are done with the pre-processing and post-processing more or less. We have to go for processing. So do you have any questions related to the discussion, whatever happened so far? Please raise the question. I'm happy to answer.
Sir, if we are trying to make a turbine blade by additive manufacturing, as just now you told the property along the each layer, even each track, the property is changing, maybe because the metallurgical adhesion between each track, maybe sometimes like that. But finally, if you do a heat treatment, whether we can homogenize the whole alloy, is it possible?
Sir, it is very difficult, sir. Oh, you can't do homogeneous. You can reduce a little bit, but not too much actually. There is a percentage of reduction in the like non-uniformity, but still it is there. So that's why what people are trying to do while doing the process. That means while making a turbine blade, even it is one of the projects for DRDO that they are trying to make a turbine blade with a single crystal. That also by additive manufacturing, okay, without getting a variation in the properties. Okay, so they're playing that optimization is not very, very, very difficult. Okay, because metallurgically you have to work it out layer by layer. For that, first of all, why the variation is happening, I have to understand. I understand to a certain level. So this all leads to not only the tensile property, there are many properties are there. Hardness are there, tensile is there, residual stress is there, okay, fatigue, all these things are goes like that. Okay, in general, what happens, especially for turbine blade or any kind of aerospace thing, they are trying to do by additive manufacturing because it's like a job production, correct? All like see in aerospace thing, aerospace comes under job production only, but some small things are different overall because it's a like we talk about the huge structure. Okay, the ship industry as well as aerospace industry always comes under the job production because the overall picture if you see. But again in that also there are some components we are making. For example, turbine blade. In the gas turbine, if you take, there are many components, but turbine blade is one of the things. So now turbine blade making by different than assembling is difficult. But what they're making a complete turbine itself by this additive manufacturing. Okay, that time and all they're using, but still there is a variation in the property. The variation in the property not only by heat treatment, while doing the process itself, you can, but again you can't eliminate. try to understand. You can't eliminate. You can reduce the severity. That is, but again, you have to do a lot of research on that. Okay, because that is the interesting part of thing. It's a welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, move on to the next. Welcome, sir. Any other questions from participant, please? So I am happy to answer. Then we will move on to this. Okay, if you don't have, then I'll start.
Yeah,
with this.
participants
Okay,
can
very
ask
good.
any
Thank you.
questions further. If you have any clarity required, you can ask questions. I think no more questions, sir. You can continue, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Yeah. So let's
Actually,
start with.
Sir has opened our eyes to very fundamental things.
Thank you, sir, for that. Actually, there's a big gap in that. Okay, my understanding also like that, and nothing I also like from my time I'm learning. Okay, I don't like. Sorry to say, I don't like to go and talk something like whatever is there already published as a paper. Okay, I can give some small hints from the paper, but the papers are available. You can read. But these are the few things what I learned from my experience. I want to say. Okay, because I also worked in private college. I also worked in an IT system. I'm working now in IT system. I know the drawbacks of each and advantages and drawbacks in each systems. So everybody's struggling to get equipment. Okay, so don't depend on equipment. You can do your research anywhere. Okay, only one thing, you should have a clarity what you want to do. See, again, one more request from my side, because most of the people are maybe researchers around. Do research on 90% for or 80% to 90% for your benefit or your institute benefit. That means that you need a promotion, correct? Your institute has to grow. Your institute has come in a rank list. You work, but 20%, please, 10 to 20% work for society. Okay, I'm also trying to do that one, okay, as much as possible. So that is because something we have to give back to the society. Anyway, this also we are giving back to the society. Our technical research also has some contribution, but that contribution is very small. But do a contribution more to this towards the society. Okay, 10 to 20% this will try. Okay, so yeah, that's why I'm just taking this kind of key maybe invited lectures for that approach. So now what is the thing is, please believe yourself. You can do a research wherever you are. Okay, so it is possible. I'm just giving a pathway for that only as much as possible from my side, whatever learned my experience. That's all, nothing. Okay, and maybe I do also do mistakes. Okay, if it is so, please excuse for that. Okay, whatever I learned, I'm just sharing with you. Okay, fine, good. Yeah, let's go with the process one by one. That already you learned it yesterday, but I want to have a different aspect of that. Since you learned yesterday, I'll start with the thing. You know what is a VAT polymerization basic? VAT here is called tank name is other name of the tank. It's VAT, nothing. Okay, polymerization basically here. What is the thing is you are using the polymer material as the liquid polymer. Then it's a liquid, right? Again. I may used to teach this one different way. I used to even talk about the very basics only. So now all this process you consider which way. Okay, physics of the process go with that. For example, in this process itself, raw material in a liquid form obviously need a solid. You take any process, all 7 processes, you need a solid at the end. But your raw material in a different forms, correct? Now we are in this process, raw material in liquid form. So now your ultimate question: how to control the how to convert that liquid to solid. The phase transmission, transformation should be happened. How to do that? So what are the ways the phase transformation can happen? That we should know. Obviously, what you have to supply the something kind of energy to that. So now it is some cases, so you have to supply the heat energy or remove the heat. Generally, that is a way, correct? Liquid to solid. Obviously, you have to remove the heat. Then only that will become solid, but it's a polymer. Here you have to supply the heat to harden the polymer. That is a one-line physics here. Okay, one-line physics, what? Your raw material is liquid. You have to convert to a solid. That is ultimate aim. Since it's a polymer, okay, you have to do that liquid should be hardened. What are the way it can be hardened? In a room temperature also it can be hardened, or otherwise you have to supply some extra energy to that, or keep it in a furnace and this thing. So supplying heat energy is the next problem comes. How to supply the energy? That energy, the way of supplying that energy allow you to go layer by layer, control the process to the level. For example, the VAT, whatever is there, how to supply the heat energy? Yeah, you put in a furnace, whole thing will cure. But what do we need? I need a product like this. You see the diagram of here. Such a product I need. How can I do by curing? Curing you have to do in a controlled fashion. Then you have to supply energy in a controlled fashion. So what energy if I supply controlled fashion so that it will become? Again, heat energy only we are using to cure the polymer. See here, I'm supplying the heat energy to convert the liquid to solid. That is only possible. That is called hardening. That is called curing. Whereas in the metal base, you are extracting the heat energy to convert liquid to the solid. Okay, so first this is a material itself, there is a huge difference. Okay, fine, good. Again, what type of heat energy to do this one? I understand heat energy should be supplied, but it should be controlled as we discussed, layer by layer, track by track, point by point. Then my energy is supposed to be point, the point control. That means whatever energy I'm going to supply, that energy should only cure that particular point of material, not completely. It should not completely cure the whole tank. Okay, and then that amount of energy what I'm going to supply, that only not that point only, that thickness only. When you go one layer, you made like that, point by point, track to track, one layer is second layer. When you go the second layer, when you do the second layer energy, something energy has to go to first layer. Why? Because second layer and first layer should be bonded, otherwise the layer will become separated after doing the things. So there, as compared to the first layer, I have to have more energy in the second layer. Then only it will diffuse to the first layer, make a bond, interfacial bond between the first layer and second layer. So that the energy is different. Again, interesting thing. It's not mandatory to be different, but you have to play with the parameters. So process parameter optimization itself a great research area. Okay, so it's not just like that. Okay, take a thing, understanding the physics of the process. Based on that, you have to play with the process parameters. For example, what are the process parameters? As here, understand that you have a like liquid polymer is there. You're passing the heat energy in terms of laser we are using, especially UV laser. So that UV laser, what happens that it is curing it. So because laser means controlled fashion, the time. So here power of the laser is important, speed of the layer, depth of the focus. The depth of the focus plays a role again, because as I said, the two layers supposed to be bonded, then the depth of the focus, because that dictates that where more energy should be there. Okay, so that's why okay, laser power, I hope you can understand the speed. Okay, I will go with this. At least one thing we have to discuss a little bit. If I increase the power, what will happen? If I decrease the power, I'm going away from the optimum power. If I go less power, obviously curing will not happen. If you give more power, what happens? It may cure in a over level, in the sense it may cure maybe first layer too much with the second layer. And then the kind of hardness, whatever created is more. So optimization should be done. Speed. You increase the laser speed or decrease the laser speed. What happens? Anybody? If a laser speed, scanning speed, I'm talking about laser scanning speed for this process. If you want to realize, if you see that when before that lecture starts, I think organizers kept one slide, okay, about the today's talk. In that you see that laser is moving, correct? One laser is moving. So that laser, if you see that it is moving in a particular speed, that speed only I'm talking about, that is called scanning speed. If I increase the scanning speed or decrease the scanning speed, what will happen? Obviously, if you increase the scanning speed and decreasing the scanning speed, apart from the optimized thing, that things are not going to, like maybe that bonding or curing may not happen. Okay, now the speed is very small, less speed you are happening. Okay, what happens? Over curing may happen. Why it is over curing is happening? Anybody?
Higher energy input. Higher energy input.
Exactly. Why here I'm like going in depth. Please, as a researcher, not only understanding the physics, you play with the process parameter. Obviously, you are doing it. Another thing, you're supposed to be a keen observer even. Observer doing the process. That is another interesting area to talk. But what I'm trying to say over here, when you see, if I increase the speed, decrease the speed, that tensile strength machine or honest tester may give a different result that you are able to understand. That is the overall observation you are making. But you have to justify, because you are a researcher. We need a justification from the researcher. Why is it so? What reasoning it should be there? Yeah, when I will get a proper reasoning, if I understand the physics of the thing. When I increase the speed, yeah, sir, nicely said. When I decrease the speed, what happened? the interaction time, energy interaction time is more. That means each and every point of the resin getting more amount of energy because of more interaction time. So the curing may happen in a proper way, or more curing is happening, over curing. Whereas if the less interaction time or less speed, scanning speed, the less scanning speed leads to less interaction. That means the curing may not happen properly. Again, I have to go for optimize. So everybody knows if I increase the speed, or increase the process parameter, or decrease the process parameter, I may not get an optimal result. Okay, that's the observation you are making. But why? What is the physics? That you have to bring it. For understanding the physics only, what you are thinking. For example, sir said like lower, like a lesser speed, maybe have more energy. Okay, how can I prove it? Everybody knows, but how can I prove physically? I need a support, technical support. Otherwise, I'll not, like, if I'm a reviewer, see, we are reviewers, correct? We are reviewing the papers. We need a justification. Then what you have to say, see, everybody knows if more energy goes, hardness may increase more, or it may become a brittle state. That I have to prove with the hardness tester. Or if more energy happens, that material may react. The resin may like degrade or deteriorate, or the material may be disintegrate. That it will give a different material. That I will take XRD. That I will do EDAX. I will prove it. That's all. That is the way you have to do a characterization also. It's not like that characterization, I have this many equipment with me, I will do it. No. The characterization should be done in another way that you think physically. Oh, this is my observation. Okay, fine, good. I'm thinking this is a physical reasoning for that. The hardness is more now because of, okay, maybe some extra element has come because I supplied more amount of energy. What happened with the resin is like started to give some more elements. Oh, then that should be noted down. Then I have to, this is all my knowledge says. How to prove? Not only one proof. Again, try to understand that when we are proving, your paper want to get accepted in a lot of chances. The chances you want to increase for the acceptance. What you have to do? You have to support with 2 or 3 characterization things for this case. Okay, so I'm saying that hardness is increased because third element is present. How to prove the third element? By EDAX, by XRD. Something like you have to do whatever thing, or crystallization has happened. Oh, XRD. So before going, please have that kind of thing to increase the chances of accepting the paper or probability of accepting your paper. What you have to do? You have to have more supports. So what I'm trying to say, I'm starting with the process. First of all, process. Understand the process. You check what are the process parameters affecting. In the process parameters, you increase or decrease the process parameters. It will give some observations. Okay, from the observation, please try to have a justification. Try to link with the physics of the process. That justification before going further, you have a proof. That proof supposed to be from the technical side, doing by XRD or SEM, optical imaging, or TEM, or scanning STEM. Okay, scanning transmission electron. So whatever characterization you want to do, you do it and support it. Okay. I hope you are able to understand, I guess. Then if you go with the resin parameter, viscosity plays a role. Okay, if it is more viscous, less viscous, I'll connect the viscosity a little later in this. Leveling of resin is important. Okay, how to level it? When you're doing a leveling, okay, you may say, sir, wipe it. Yeah, wiping can be used. But while doing the wiping kind of strategy, what happened that it should not affect your previous layer. Okay, so you have to have a kind of leveling the resin also properly, because in additive manufacturing, layer by layer, that layer you have to dictate, correct? Okay, I will one question in line to that. Small layer thickness is preferred, or large layer thickness is preferred for additive manufacturing? Layer thickness you can understand, layer by layer, then layer thickness comes to the picture. That also one of the process parameter which is preferred. Small layer thickness or large layer thickness?
Small layer.
Hello, participants.
Small layer thickness.
Small layer thickness, correct. Small layer thickness always preferred because to get a good surface finish, less surface roughness, which leads to. Okay. Again, the surface roughness, I forgot one more point I'd like to add here. In surface roughness, we are checking only. Okay. what are the process? What are the parameters will check for surface roughness? RA will check, correct? But not only RA sufficient. RA, RQ, RZ and all we have to check. Please start to think in that direction also. Not only RA, RQ, RZ, RMS and all. Apart from that, there are many things. R skewness is there. R kurtosis is there. Those things will give some more idea. And then bearing area curve is there. So many interesting things are in surface roughness side itself, surface profile characteristic side itself. That will give a large amount of data. That will give a large amount of information for further applications. Okay. Okay, so viscosity, leveling of resin, chemical composition of the resin, that also plays a role. Okay, the printing procedure, the speed thing. Okay, then orientation like how to keep the sample, that I'll say in few slides. Okay, orientation means you can keep in a different direction. Okay, that I'll say how it will be. And layer thickness, the layer thickness only you're talking about. Now, the layer thickness in vat polymerization dictated by what? The layer thickness dictated by few things. One is on a platform. If you see here, there is a platform, correct? The platform over that the resin is supposed to be filled. So the layer thickness, the level of resin to be filled on the platform. Okay, everything interrelated. And then laser power, which is using for curing the resin. All things are related. Based on your layer thickness, the laser power is supposed to be like fixed. Apart from that, the level of resin also supposed to be filled over here like this. So these all three are interrelated. You can't say that independent. Okay, all are dependent. So now here interesting thing in the elevator mechanism. The elevator mechanism also, that resolution of elevator mechanism dictates the layer thickness. Can you tell me how? Because here what is happening? Once one layer is deposited, you have to push the platform one level down. How much you are going to push it down, that is equal to your layer thickness. Am I right? Because that much amount of resin only going to spread on the platform. So now the mechanism, whatever you are using, lead screw you are using, that lead screw resolution is dictated by the screw pitch. So the minimum screw pitch only going to dictate your layer thickness. See how it is related, everything. The research is very interesting over here. Not only here, everywhere is like that. If you understand, your screw mechanism, the resolution of the screw mechanism, the leveling of the platform, and the laser source, laser energy, all three things are relating with first layer deposition. So the layer thickness is not just like that. So now if you use a screw mechanism, you pitch of the screw say 1 mm, then your minimum layer thickness itself 1 mm. Then what mechanism is supposed to be adopted for this elevator mechanism? Then you have a second zone. Now people are working that technology. So PCA actuated elevator. Instead of using the screw thread, lead screw method, you use a piezoelectric. There you can have a minimum movement of layer of the platform. So it's another thing, interesting thing. In vat polymerization is giving another way to do a micro size of products also. For that, what is happening, whatever you say here, it's a vat polymerization at macro level. Top, it's like you have to make layer by layer this thing. So another is like a bottom-up approach. Okay, this for microstereolithography. Okay, I'll see in nothing. So these are the few more process parameters. Okay, this is, I don't like to go in depth about that. It's all like we spoke already. Okay, again, the laser means laser not only power, wavelength and all important. Okay, that and all you should know. So here another thing is scan is okay. The scanning pattern also gives a thing. The people have adopted view pattern, star view pattern, or ACES scan pattern. So all of these patterns are giving a different amount of curing. So now you have to find which scan pattern is going to give a large amount of curing. The success rate of curing is more because the laser has to pass, correct, in a particular fashion. So that again, please remember the laser has to move from one extreme to the other. Then otherwise it will not cure because heat energy continuously supply. Then that will not allow to cure. So you have to go randomly in a proper way that which pattern of scanning will help you to get a full curing or more amount of curing. So people have done a research that itself again another area. Microstereolithography, like as I said, micro size components also can be made. For micro size means you can understand this is STEM actually. This much length is 200 micrometer. Okay, small gear. This much like length in this thing means 100 micrometers. Overall, it's a 500 micrometer gear. Not 500, less than the diameter of the gear is less than 500 meters. But pitch, I'm just saying like major diameter of the thing. Okay, so please try to understand in that way. So this is a bull they made by that. Okay, see the bull, this bar is 1 micrometer bull they made, okay, by this microsealer thing. So here ultimately bottom up approach they will go. That means, sorry to go back here, if you see that the inverted position, that is the way. Here the viscosity of the resin plays a role. The viscosity in such a way that while doing an inverted thing also, that material layer is not separating out. So microspherolithography is another interesting domain to work it out. Okay, so you can buy equipment and then play with that. Another thing is powder bed fusion. Okay, already.
Sir, 1 minute.
Sir,
1 minute. This
please.
bottom up approach.
Please, sir. Tell me,
is
sir.
that the,
sorry, sir. Please
the
repeat your question.
bottom
Sorry, you are not audible. Now you are.
in the bottom up approach? How
Yes,
the
sir.
energy is deposited in the bottom up approach?
From the bottom, from the bottom,
approach.
from the bottom. Yeah, from the bottom. A laser, it's upside down, completely upside down. It's a very interesting. Okay, upside down. Please go through some more literature. You will come to know. I'm just giving a hint. You can have a research area here. It's a bottom. It's very interesting area to know. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome, sir. So another powder bed fusion here, like it is a raw material in a powder form. Again, the powder should be converted to a solid. The phase transmission should be happened. For that, we are supplying the heat energy, controlled heat energy by laser or electron beam is good. Electron beam for high energy, okay, whereas the laser is lower than the electron beam energy. Then here laser again controlled fashion you can do, yeah, better. But again here interesting thing is when I do the phase transformation, here what are the phases are happening? It's a melting and then solidifying, correct? So what is the physics? Whenever melting, what is happening? That itself. Again, whenever I talk about laser power, spot size, pulse duration, all those comes to here. You're using the pulse laser, not a continuous one. Okay, again, that laser scanning is important. Scan speed only we are talking about. Even that patterns we have seen in the PFP. Here, this pattern, spacing, speed, everything dictating your final output. For example, hardness of the material, deformation of the material, and residual stress of the material. All those things are dictated by this thing. Okay, so here the powder also you have to do a research. Powder particle shape, size, the distribution, this thing. Okay, for example, anybody can tell how to represent the powder size? Powder size, how to represent the powder size of the particle?
Is it a nanometer size?
Yeah, on the micrometer, nanometer, but generally we say average particle size. That means it is not about that the powder particle size is not uniform. You take a powder in your hand, okay, or a pinch of powder you take. The pinch of powder has a lot of powder particles. Okay, each powder particles are different size. That's why it's called average particle size. Or people talk about mesh size. Okay, the mesh size also contains like all, you say mesh size is 2000. Okay, so in that you have below that whatever is there, everything covered. That means average size of the particles only comes to the picture there. So now the particles are different shape, size, and how it is distributed. That is interesting to know how that physics, how that process is going to react. Then density of the thing, you can play with the density. Whenever powder comes, you know, like powder metallurgy also we talk about tap density, powder density, theoretical density. So this density also plays a role. The layer thickness, material properties, and again here one more thing is the temperature. The powder bed is supposed to be heated because on a powder bed you are supplying a laser to melting and solidifying thing. Melting and sometimes evaporation also is happening. In that case, what? So your bed is in a normal temperature, whereas this goes high temperature, then huge temperature gradient comes, then that leads to a distortion. That should be avoided. For that, powder bed should be heated. But again, what temperature should be chosen? That itself, again, research area depends on the material to material varies. Now that one small thing, this is the work I'm doing with my M10 student. He has done a very good work. We are very happy to have a good results with him.
One doubt.
Please, sir. Please.
In the previous slide, what is the environmental condition we are keeping in powder process? Powder
very good.
Environmental condition.
I understand. Correct. Here you can't do it in open atmosphere because it may oxidize. Okay, so you have to do in either argon base or other gases thing. Generally, argon we are using because it's like inert gas. Correct. So in powder bed fusion, better you can do in open also, but open leads to oxidation. That should be taken care. But in general, powder bed fusion we are using controlled gas. In general, it's argon. Okay, That is important. Good. Thank you, sir, for that one. Yeah. So effect of layer rotation here, scanning is okay. Yeah, scanning length is important. That length of the scanning is one way. So the length of the scan, this may vector length, scan vector length is one. Another thing is pattern of the layers. Okay, see, to have a different thermal history or to have a proper heating and cooling effect, they are playing with a different layer rotations that they are making. First layer, see, now like this way, all layers are following the same pattern. Whereas the second, this set, if you see middle set, each layer have different angle of rotation. 30 degree we rotated the thing and doing it because laser correct, computer control, we can play around. Then that last one is exactly 90 degrees. So now which kind of scanning rotations will give a better result? That I have to check. Another one is a different scan vector. If I reduce, see, if it is a bigger, it covers this much area at a time. But if it is small, it go like a chessboard pattern. We say it's called chessboard pattern. That give a different results. Okay, so it's all interesting thing go to them. Another thing is binder jetting. I think maybe yesterday you might have learned because I have to cover some more topics. So I'm just skipping this one. Binder jetting is a binder we are jetting, whereas the material is spread on the platform. Whereas the material jetting, you are jetting the material, binder is so okay. Before going further, again, here also one research opportunity is there. Not one, there are many. Just giving a link. Why there are two materials first of all? Binder and material. Two things are there. I need a product by original material, not by binder. Binder should be removed. Then why am I adding a binder and removing the binder? Any answer from participant side? Sorry.
To keep
why two material?
To keep the particle in position, we require the binder.
To keep the part, yeah, correct. But how to bring? Why you are doing it means because these all working on principle. When I talked about conventional machining, what I said, tool material should be other than workpiece material. But here, what is the thing? Based on the energy. Here, for example, in powder bed fusion or anything, you are using laser. So the laser melting point of material is important. So whatever energy you're supplying, that's supposed to more than a melting point of the material, correct? That energy, how much energy required for melting the material, more than that energy required for laser to do the process on that. The same thing here also. If you have a high melting point material, then where the energy source goes? So to avoid that, what they're doing, you take a high melting point material, mix it with the binder material. Binder means low melting material. You use a low melting point material, mix it with the main material, high melting point material, mix it and supply the laser energy. That will only melt the binder. And then make it like a skeleton, like it will make it like a bonding with all binder material. Remaining this oil melting major material will not melt. It is there. It's entrapped inside. Then what you do? You take that thing, you put it in the furnace. Binder since low melting point, it will melt away. Okay, pour it out. You have only now main material with high melting point, but everything is bonded. Bonded is it have like having the kind of interaction. With the help of that, you can now get a shape of the product. Once the shape you are getting, then you have to do for a secondary process. Maybe in a powder metallurgy, you might have heard about that like infiltration, impregnation. Those processes you have to do and get the final product. Okay, this I am getting giving inputs for material jetting, and so for that you have furnace in your institute. You play around and do that. Another interesting area or manufacturing processes in additive is laminated object manufacturing. So this is a very, very like interesting thing because it has a lot of application. Okay, this is maybe you know already. Okay, we are using ultrasonic vibration and then certain amplitude for joining the material. Okay, so here I don't like to go, but here a research point of view I will go. The quality of the bond is important. So they are saying a linear welding density. Linear welding density, it's like they defined. It's all, see, this all on standard definition. The people are brought in. Okay, how to quantify the bonding? How to quantify the bonding between the layers? They brought a new terminal called linear. Why particularly I kept this slide for that? Please try to understand. You can bring your own terminologies. You can bring your own parameter to quantify the quality of the thing or parameters. So here it is a bond interface, length of the bond interface divided by total interface. So here how to, this is a 4 layer, they bonded by ultrasonic consolidation method. Wherever this white patches are showing, that is all well bonded. Wherever the black lines are you are showing, that is unbonded properly. So those things you have to measure. So that unbonded divided by total interface length, that gives the linear welding density. With the help of that, you can do the thing. We'll see that in upcoming slides. But how to, these are the controlled by few things: clamping force, oscillation amplitude, speed, and temperature of the things. So oscillation amplitude, if you see, if I have more oscillation, what will happen? If you have a less oscillation, what happen? If you have more oscillation, more ultrasonic energy, more bonding may happen, so over bonding. Less means bonding will not happen. Optimized energy is necessary. So this kind of things we know, but again you have to play with material force. Again, the force also same. You have more force, normal force for holding the thing, that may give more bonding, metallurgical bonding. But if you have less, it may not bond at all. Okay, so then optimized force would be known. So the bond quality is not dictated by that linear welding density. It is dictated by this kind of parameters. Again, travel speed. Already we discussed. More speed means less energy. Less speed means high energy supplied to the material. So that also gives an idea. Optimum speed should be done. Temperature. Temperature is also important because that helps in a good bonding thing here. Okay. Otherwise, it may lead to kind of non-bonding. So metal foils like 150 to 200 micrometer, generally we can go for ultrasonic consolidation. Okay, so this is about the overall process. Now I'll go to the application side because it will give a research side. One is in ultrasonic consolidation, process parameter wise you can do a research. Another applications. Okay, I'll put a question. Is it possible to do hole, okay, on the center of the product? For example, you're making a cube, okay? Okay, making a cube. I want to make a hole at the center. Okay, is it possible to make hole on the given product? A cube, a cuboid, whatever you take in that center, I want to make a hole. That it is like a kind of parallel to say x-axis. Don't consider y-axis. Y-axis also can be done, but x-axis consideration key. I want to make internal features like that, channels, holes like that. Is it possible by adding additive? Because please remember, when we want to make a hole, okay, you are going lower, half of the hole you made. Above the half of the hole you want to print, above the half of the hole, whatever going to print, obviously it will deposit here only. Then how can you get a hole? So that is not possible in general. For this internal features can be done by combination of this ultrasonic. Ultrasonic, what happens, you know? Here, interesting thing is 4 layers you bond. After that, you machine. Again, 4 layers you bond. It's not exactly hybrid, but generally ultrasonic bonding should be done in that way. Okay. So here, what happens when you do these 4 layers, then you can use the machining and remove the bond. So that means you can make a like a channel or something by this. So that internal features can be done. Material flexibility. That means you play with many, you can make a composite, you can make alloy to alloy. All those things are possible by this material. For example, you can even embed the kind of stainless steel mesh in the material. We'll see that one in this. See here, it's a composite. Aluminum layer is there. In between SS meshes they kept. Okay, so the SS mesh will help us to improve the properties of the product. For that, SS mesh can be kept. That is only possible in ultrasonic consolidation method only. Nowhere, no by other process possible. Fiber embedment. Now we are talking about this thing, right? IoT and all. IoT means the sensor supposed to be embedded on the machine or cutting tool or whatever. Y means you want to operate through online internet. So that then the sensor supposed to be embedded. That only will check and control the things. For example, here fiber also are embedded by ultrasonic. You can, like the red color, these are fiber. So you make in between the layers, you keep the fiber and do the ultrasonic consolidation. Ultrasonic consolidation, you have to ensure that that is not damaging the fiber, because it's we are applying an amplitude, this ultrasonic amplitude in the and then energy, that load with certain frequency. It will not damage the thing, okay? Because before energy going to that, you are removing the source, so it's safe for that fibers. Okay, how they are embedding the fiber. Okay, not only fiber, you can have silicon carbide kind of thing. This all those things can be inserted. When you do this kind of fiber insertment, see some cases interesting things are happening. Physics extrusion kind of things are happening over there. So this all SEM picture, this thing. Smart structures we are talking about. As I said, you can embed the sensors. Okay, 4 layer you make, embed the sensor, close the 4th layer, 5th layer, 6th layer. So in the case sensors can be kept in this. So IoT or digital manufacturing, those things, dreams can be realized with the help of this. Another interesting process, material extrusion. Already you know, yeah. For example, that orientation I said, correct? I'll discuss. This is a orientation. If I want to make this product, how to make? You make layer by layer up to this properly. But you want to make it this the layer you want to print. Obviously, it will come down, correct? It will not to print, allow the print. Then you have to have a orientation. You can have straight away with support material this way, or otherwise you change. These are different orientation possible too. So don't think that what way you need a product. Printing you do in any way. Finally, you can use the product in one way. So this all a different orientation. Then again, it's a kind of research you do. Again, what is the maximum slope you can make? Up to 45 degree of slope. Okay, you no need of any support. More than 45 degree, then you need a support. So that support also you have to optimize with the less of support. Again, plotting and path control. Now, I'm talking about scanning is okay. Scanning pattern okay. Scanning vector length is okay. Scanning rotation angle is okay. But when you want to make a layer, see that layer, number of turns you have to reduce. So in this pattern, you see the fill pattern 1, first pattern they're filling outside. Generally, whenever do a additive, first of all, you have to do outside. Then only you have to go inside. This is a general thing, number 1. Number 2, there are only 3 patterns, fill pattern first, then 2 more patterns. That means they reduce as much as turns are possible, then reduce the number of different patterns. You started the pattern here, it goes like this, take a turn, goes like this, like that. The second pattern ends here. Okay, that another thing is starting from this. Like here you see this is itself one pattern, this small thing, because it has to cover this area. So what I'm trying to say, first outside you have to thing, and then you have to reduce number of turns in this thing. Based on that, you have to fill the fill pattern. Oh, another very, very interesting idea in the thing is in a FDM process, fusion deposition modeling nozzle you are using, through the nozzle you are squeezing the raw material in a semi-solid form, because raw material in a wire form, that is like pulled to the nozzle. There you have a heating provision, you're heating it, it becomes a semi-solid. Through through nozzle, the semi-solid thing is squeezed out. Now when you're squeezing out is okay. What happens now? Whenever you're squeezing out is okay. When you're taking a turn, your nozzle going to the 0 velocity relatively, but you're squeezing out whatever material is not stopping. So that is squeezed out, it will deposit more material at the turning. So that is another research area to know how to reduce that thing. Okay, you can't stop it, but how to minimize that kind of effort. Oh, that another interesting, it is endless, it will go actually. Okay, anyway, to complete, okay, I'll just try to wind up because I have to leave some time for you to have questions also. Okay, that here if you see that FDM, it will give an option called infill. Infill means inside, see, generally some cases we need outside only, inside whatever it is. So no need to deposit more material, okay. That is one way. And another thing is, when you talk about bioimplants, if you are making scaffold and all, there I need a kind of porosity, more like dictate, additive manufacturing. Another thing is, wherever you want to dictate the porosity you can dictate here. Okay, that is with the help of the infill pattern. You can dictate how much porosity you need. 50% porosity I need. So the desired porosity you can get with this. So these are the different fill pattern where you need scaffold. Scaffold in the sense you use dictated porosity. For you make a scaffold like this, and then what happens? The scaffold you place it in the body. Then that cells will deposit and grow. For that you need a space. Pores you need. That pores only you are dictating here and generating with additive manufacturing. Another, the scaffold architecture, it's again, you no need of any equipment. You have one computer, okay, then software, you make this kind of thing. Find out which porosity. And then obviously most of the engineering colleges have a this thing. What is that? FDM is there at least. You can do a lot of research related to that. Okay, then we talked about complexity, correct? You see the complexity. How can I make by any process such a complex shape? That is only by additive manufacturing. This all are bioimplants related. Okay, I'm just rushing through. Bioimprinting in another area. If you see the bioprinting, you take a like image, okay, from the MRI or CT scan, and then get the CAD model data. Okay, what you then you visualize that in a 3D pattern. After that, you bioprint it. But bioprinting, you're just making a skeleton of that. Inside, you have to allow the tissue to mature. Tissue culture should do. Then finally get it. So you can make what? You can make say kind of models, like models. Maybe you can make kind of understanding the thing. For example, this is a good example I used to say to most of the places. Endoscopic is there, correct? The endoscopic means they will insert a camera inside your mouth, and then they check how about your intestine, how about your like inside the system. So to know the thing. So like that, if you want to know, for example, doctor is joining, your new doctor. You want to operate that endoscopic thing. How we will learn? You can't you use a human being for testing or learning purpose, correct? So now you mimic the human body. That is possible by bioprinting. Okay, with help of that, that a doctor can understand, oh, this is a way. Or operation, you want to do something. Okay, you don't know how about the nervous system and everything. That you can print and learn. Okay, for teaching purpose, learning purpose. Before doing an operation, you can do a pre-operation, learn. So many advantages are there. So another is direct energy deposition. This also you might have learned. I am skipping. This is another interesting field, repairing. For example, gas turbine or turbine plates and all very costly material because it's all are superalloys. It can work in high temperature, high pressure environment. What happens there? If you remove, something it is worn out at the tip, you can't throw the tip. The tip supposed to be for example, this is a turbine blade. Okay, the tip supposed to be this is a broken tip. The tip generally what happens if they are unable to do the throwing out or they're using a laser cladding. But now people have started to use additive manufacturing because we can get a perfect. So that means that broken tip or the waste thing can be reused. This is one thing. Another is the tooling industry they are using. Okay, tooling industry means you can make a mold in polymer material also. That is possible additive manufacturing. Another thing is conformal cooling. It's another area to be explored. This also you can work with a system and do it. How? See here, when you go for die and mold thing, what happens that you are using cooling channel like conventional cooling channel are all straight channels. But what happens that straight channels are in different places. It's not uniform distance from the mold. Whereas conformal cooling channel conformal to the shape. You make the channel to the shape. What happens that because of the cooling also takes place uniformly, you'll get a good product. So this is for conventional. That means red color things are cooling channel. It is not uniformly distributed like a distance placed. Whereas here the cooling channel from the product is the distance is space is uniformly maintained, so that the heat temperature cooling where happens in a proper way. Okay, then I can get a good product out of it. Okay, these are the things. Design thinking, as I said. Anybody can tell me the answer for this? There is a truck stuck between the bridge and road. Now we want to move the truck without damaging the truck and without damaging much to the bridge. How to do? Anybody?
Reduce the tire pressure so that you get a clearance, then move.
Correct. That's all. Yeah, thank you, sir. That's all. Okay, deflate that tire so that tire will decrease. Then you push it. That's all. It may damage the tire, but not to the truck, not to the bridge. That is the way. That means this is giving another way. See the product bracket, something we are using for construction. The bracket we are using more material here, but really we want this much only. But what happened? The available manufacturing process not allowed to make such a structure. But additive manufacturing, so that design thinking has to come. Please put a question: why should I have this much material over here? Okay, so these are like the ring. See the shape. That and all possible thing. So this is the overall capability. As I said, initially the shape of the things are like that. Do the topology. This is called topology optimization. If you do that, we need for the same function this much amount of material only. So additive manufacturing paving the way. So the topology optimization, another interesting area to work on. So to show the complexity. Skeleton also, see that the overall skeleton is got changed because we need finally this kind of skeleton. Due to the manufacturing difficulty, we go for a conventional way. But now additive manufacturing part the way for making such a skeleton. So now I'm at the end. Okay, the journey, if you see, the process developed for making a model and prototype to realize very fast manner. That's why it's called rapid prototyping. Slowly, this technology started to use for repairing and tooling industry. Tooling means making die and mold and all. But now what happens? Even the history, you see, first we started to explore in polymer, slowly ceramic, now started to make in metal. And final product also we started to make finally with this. That's why the rapid prototyping now named as additive manufacturing. That means final product also we started to make with additive manufacturing. Started with a prototype manufacturing, the technology matured now to make a final product, that is called additive manufacturing. That's the overall journey about additive manufacturing. So these are some surveys. So in 2027, like how much about the kind of feature. So it's a huge feature is that what I'm trying to say, it's a good time to start. So overall working or overall wants to work, please start and then go further in that. Okay, with this I would like to wind up my presentation. Okay, thank you. If you have any doubts, I'm happy to answer.
So one question, sir, you have told mentioned about BioInk. Is it already in the market, or it is in the research level, like with the living things and all to
No,
make a bioprint?
people started, but not to that higher level. It is in a preliminary level only. Preliminary
Means with
level.
living things you told, sir, is it possible like through machine
Yeah,
we can
possible, sir. Possible. Yeah, actually, biomachining you might have heard about it, I guess. Biomachining also, it's a living organism, so you have to supply to the material. Then you have to have a mask on the material, wherein which you know to machine. You leave the material should be machined. The open area, what happens is biomaterial, that organisms will go and eat the material. It takes some time, but that is one way of. It's like a very kind of what I can say green manufacturing thing. Okay, so if you want to have a very small size features, people are thinking about a biomachining is the best one. So there it's possible. Like that here also what happened in the bioprinting, the people started to use the culture, like it's are this they're creating, it's all artificial, correct? So you can you can culture that one, that's it. So first you print it with the ink, like it's all, there is a duration, within the duration you have to actively use that. Okay, otherwise that's very difficult. Okay, you have to handle properly, then you allow to queue, then you will get a thing. So people have made the things, but if you ask me directly, people started to use for the human body, no, that is not there. But at least now we started to learn, as I said, for training, understanding how about our body. If I want to do any operation, then I can do a mock operation with that. And then like if a new doctor is there, joinee is there, he wants to learn, that is a good opportunity to learn with rules. So that is why this bio things are helping, in my understanding.
Okay.
So there are no questions. Okay.
Any queries? Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, please, sir.
Actually, how to tackle with this biocompatibility issues when we deal with biopolymers that to in vivo applications, using stereolithography apparatus.
Yeah, that is true. Like actually, we have to know first of all biocompatibility. What there are 7 or 8 success should be done. Okay, generally you do not only there implants, whatever is there. People used to do that test. Okay, if you take a metal, okay, do additive manufacturing, or you take a metal, do wire EDM, you make a product. So they do before the wire EDM or before additive manufacturing. How is the biocompatibility of that? Because in general the material has some biocompatibility based on that only. For example, titanium alloy we say biocompatible. Okay, but after doing the process, how the material become like biocompatible, whether it is any reaction is happening, then you have to optimize your parameter in line to the biocompatibility. That is again, what is your output? There are many things there you have to compromise, maybe cost, you have to compromise the time or something, where you do there you not don't like to compromise the biocompatibility. That is a prime most thing. So after doing additive manufacturing by VAT or by any process, you check the biocompatibility, then understand the physics, especially that biocompatibility affected by what. If I sending the laser energy is affecting that. Why the laser is affecting that? That laser, like that you have to do a research. Okay, but there is a possibility you can, but you have to go for in-depth research. That is my understanding. I'm not expert in that area, but still based on my experience, I'm sharing.
Thanks, sir.
Welcome, sir. Any questions from the participants?
Yeah,
I'm happy to answer.
Unmute and directly ask the questions now. It's open to each one of you.
So, sir, participants from different
Yeah, we
colleges
have
or
from
same
various
college?
engineering. It is from various engineering colleges, as well as from the outside state also. So MTech and PhD scholars are also participating.
Very nice, very nice. Thank you. Actually, why means see, please see, even this is the statement I used to make. In general, we have a printer in our home, correct, for paper printing. Okay, print on a paper. So the same thing down the line, maybe mark my words, 20 years or 10 or 20 years later, in each and every house, we more or less will have a small 3D printer. Because what happens that for example, there is a thing, okay, nut is gone or bolt is gone, okay, or some buckle is broken. You no need to go on this thing. All CAD models may available in online, standard thing. You print in your home and use it. So that is the way things will go. In future, in a house, we will have one 3D printer. Okay. So why I'm saying is, in that case, in institute, we supposed to have one 3D printer. At least FDM 3D printer you can buy. So there are some good FDM 3D, even for 25,000 it is also available. You can't do a great research, but you can do research. Okay. So in a private colleges or the thing, or please try to have one good 3D printer for teaching as well as for doing a minimum basic research thing. Okay, so that will give a lot of opportunities for many people, not for only researchers. BTech, MTech students also can do some quantum of research work in that. Okay.
Yes, sir. Sir, you have not mentioned the facilities in IIT Palakkad. Can you tell something on that? So what are the facilities in this field?
Okay, fine. Thank you. Here we have a metal 3D printer. Okay, this is EOS printer. Okay, actually, what is the thing is we are planning to open for outsiders also. Okay, it is there. I think it's opened, but you have to come through a proper channel. Like you check the website, the link. I think these things are there. That is one. Another that is handled by Dr. Kesavan. Whereas we have a polymer-based printers also. Whereas I have like a dual nozzle 3D printer, and then in electrical engineering lab we have many FDM printers are there. We have one VAT polymerization thing also, small thing. Okay, for micro products manufacturing. Okay, so now there are things are available, but especially now metal-based things are open to all. Remaining all, you contact the concerned faculty based on the availability, based on other things that you may go with doing the things. Okay. So, like related to metal, I think it is open for the public.
Okay.
Outside.
Currently, the metal printing is open. So other things are inside work only. It is right.
Not it. Yeah. Actually, other things are, like FDM printer is not that much costly. People are having, maybe they were having the institute itself, but still, even they are struggling also for that. Maybe you contact the concerned faculty, they may help you to go further in that.
Okay.
Oh, can you share my phone number or email ID?
Yeah.
Sure, sir.
Yes.
Okay, this is my email ID. I will just type it. I'm just typing in now.
Yes.
You drop an email, sir, then I'll send my phone number. Okay.
Yeah. So participant can send mail to sir, so he will be sending the details. I hope the participants have no more queries. So any final words to the research scholars who are attending this, like in IIT Palakkad, they have what are the research facilities for the scholars like PhD level or MS level in IIT Palakkad?
I'll stop staring my screen. Okay. Yeah, so I'm happy to answer research related questions also, no problem, please. You have any general research related also, based on my experience or knowledge, I'll just share some ideas. Because the workshop is not only made for a particular topic, right? It's meeting the experts and the experienced person, not only with me, even the participants among yourself itself, you can discuss, because there are many experts are there in participants thing itself. So better you can have one session for that also.
Sure.
Mr. Ranjit, you would like to ask something? Because sometimes, okay.
Hello.
Yes, Mr. Ranjit, please.
Okay. So what are the techniques used for the parameter optimization?
Sorry, what are the
Techniques used for parameter optimization. Nowadays, what are the main techniques
very good.
used for the parameter optimization in additive manufacturing?
Okay, fine. Yeah, good. Thank you. So the thing is like the optimization. There are many kinds. Again, conventional, non-conventional optimization techniques. Okay. See now, what for you're doing optimization, you should be very clear first of all. Okay, single objective, multi-objective. Okay, there are many things in that. Okay, multi-objective only generally we have to go. It's not so now again in conventional, non-conventional. Now people are talking about machine learning also. Okay, they are trying to give a thing from from their way they want to. So like this starts from say basic things. I don't know, maybe you have an idea that three things I'll just say. You may catch the point. Full factorial, okay, Takuchi thing, orthogonal array, and third is response surface methodology. The three method generally it's called conventional type. So if your process is completely no, you have to go for full factorial. Okay, again there are also single, multiple, there are many things are there. Then after that what you have to do is based on the thing whether you have to go for full factorial or half factorial or otherwise you want to go for Takuchi. Takuchi, when we have to choose, we have to use we have to do very less number of experiments because of constraints like equipment availability, material may be costly, or you want to know interaction effect. So that kind of idea you should have. The response is another way. It's not completely in the factorial side, not completely in another way. So you have to know which. So this is all conventional base. So non-conventional base people are like to go with kind of say artificial network, genetic algorithm, and then you can go for AND algorithm. There are many things. Now people are talking about machine learning and other things on that. Okay, so in that case. What I'm trying to say, these are many techniques are there. First of all, try to understand overall that what for like which technique is supposed to be used for what purpose. That's why I said when I have many options, the selection criteria should be very clear. Based on your objective, the criteria should be chosen. So whenever optimization technique you want to choose, multi-objective, what are the objective also, which technique you want to use. Okay, so as I said, genetic algorithm can be used. People used to develop a basic idea from AI or genetic algorithm. Then that data, that model they used to develop to give a more data for machine learning. So there are different ways, step by step, adding, calibrating, combining. So there are many things. Okay, you just to go through based on the first overall about optimization techniques, overall superficially, which is based on your requirement you have to choose. Okay, these are the techniques are available. At present, people are talking about combining this AI with machine learning. Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Welcome, sir. Welcome. Any other questions from the participant side?
I think no more questions from the participants side.
Yeah, then we can wind it up, sir.
Yes, once again, I thank you, Dr. Kanmani Subbu sir, for your wonderful session in the morning time. So you have elaborated the requirements for the precision work, especially the layer by layer of each of the process. So this is the area where most of us are not that much aware. So we used to go with machines and we used to go for the final fabrication, but the research is actually at the bottom level, at the micro, at the nano level. It is as you have explained. It was a eye opener for many of us who are working in this field, and we will be surely in touch with you to clear the in future our doubts with respect to the various process you have elaborated. So once again, we thank you on behalf of the coordinators as well as all the participants present here, sir. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Thank
All the best. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.